Welcome back to another episode of Comic Watchers. Comic Watchers is brought to you by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comics and media news and reviews written by fans for fans. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Spread the word that we're coming for the clickbait sites. It's our time now. I'm your host, Cody, coming to you from Oahu, and here's the rest of the gang.
Brian from very hot Arizona right now.
John Jack, I am in the Arctic North. It's very cold. There's snow.
Brian from Salt Lake.
Matt from Oklahoma City. It's kind of chilly now. Not really.
Matt, weren't you just in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, he's too good at muting. He's a mute ninja.
Yeah, we can fix that in post. No, I was at the Oklahoma State Capitol, which is like 10 minutes from my work.
Okay. Sorry, never mind. Just kidding.
Oklahoma has a capital too, everybody.
How fancy.
He was doing good. He was out there doing good works.
Yes, I was.
What were those works?
So I work for Goodwill, but I also work for a supportive services for veteran families, which is a grant-based program that is the grant in which the grant is held by Goodwill. And basically what we do is we help veterans get off the streets. And we work with a partner organization called Heartline 211 that recently had all of its funding taken away. So once a year, all the different organizations that feed through Heartline go to the Capitol and basically hang out and try to, not shake down legislators or guilt them or anything, but just kind of spread the word a little bit to try to get some money thrown Heartline's way.
That's awesome, Matt.
It was a good time, and I got to wear a tie.
Yeah, it makes me not want to complain about my week. Like I'm already done. It's only Tuesday, but that's excellent work.
Yeah, really cool, dude.
Yeah, very cool.
We'll throw some links down in the video description.
Yeah, great idea. You know, get some awareness raised and help get some funds raised. Absolutely. You know, the two people that watch our show may want to contribute.
You can make a difference.
I will. That's true. But I will also add that we are getting more listens now than we have been for the first week that it was out. So that's actually pretty cool.
That's great.
We're growing.
So is it actually increasing each week noticeably or?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was just waiting for Cody to say we're growers and showers.
It crossed my mind.
Heard it coming out of his mouth.
On that note, hey Brian, what's up with news?
So there's a lot of news, and I kind of ran out of time to write it all down. So this is what you're getting. If you want to hear all the news, you can always head over to our website, www.comic-watch.com. But what we have so far is Marvel and Hulu are teaming up once again, bringing us 4 new animated shows. Marvel's MODOK, Hit Monkey, Howard the Duck, and Tiger and Dazzler show, which I'll be honest, I'm not watching any of them. But I know some of you guys will. I know you guys are big Dazzler fans. Maybe not here, but I know people at our workplace may be. I think Ross was excited about that one. I was like, okay, bro. So there's a couple of news states that were stating that Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist may be heading to Hulu. I kind of feel like it's something that we've already covered, that the possibility, because Disney does own a portion of Hulu, so it would be natural that we would see those shows, how we would see them, in what capacities. Could they just be reruns airing on there? I don't know. Or maybe it would be new shows. I don't feel like this is breaking news. I think that they just found out that Marvel may be owning it, so they're kind of playing on that. Bryan Singer has been pulled out of Red Sonja. I mean, Yeah, that's not exactly surprising, as there continues to be speculations. There's been several speculation or accusations, rather, about his downtime play, shall we call it. Scott Adkins' Batman edition was leaked to fans. Fans went crazy. Everybody was thinking that it was about the Matt Reeves upcoming film, but Scott came out and said it was done in 2013. So it wasn't, maybe it is, maybe it's just a way to get more publicity. Who knows? I don't know if Scott would be taking it, because I think they're looking for a younger Batman for this film. Who knows, though? I never know with DC movies. Tom Taylor is teasing a bunch of stuff. It's going on off for 2 days now. It's Deceased. It's fine, but I'm kind of already over it. Like, I was down for the full one day that it was supposed to be released. Now it's going down to 2, possibly 3. I don't care anymore. That's actually all I have for news. For more, go ahead and check out our website.
I'm personally loving the saga of Tom Taylor's slow, painful release of what this new project is going to be. Like,
It's
seeing
maddening.
all of the other seeing all of the other creators coming up, you know, Doc Shaner giving him grief, and Donnie Cates like demanding to know right now. Like, everybody is coming out of the woodwork. Jody Hauser, I saw, was on there. Brian Hitch offered to draw the thing. Doesn't know what it is yet, but you know, my boy B is down. Like,
I do want to add, though.
Been,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I just think it's been fun. Like, it's fun in a way. There's no way it can live up to the hype. But I'm enjoying the hype train.
And I think that's part of my frustration. Okay, so I work on the news part. Like, I just want to hurry up and break news. But since I have to, like, refresh my Facebook and my Twitter every 15 minutes so I can be able to break the news, I'm just done. Like, it's just, for me, I'm out. So if JJ
yesterday
available,
I was just watching his page for like an hour. It was brutal.
Yeah. But I do agree with Cody. The comments were hilarious. Now that I do mention it, there's been teasers about the unrelated to Deceased. There's teasers about possibly bringing back the Marvel Ultimate Universe, which I would be really excited about because I just read X-Men the entire run. So I bring it. I'm ready. I got to read all the other ones first, though. So if it takes a year or so, I'm totally okay with that.
I would be fine with that. Ultimate Spider-Man is easily one of my favorite runs of all time. And obviously, Bendis is exclusive to DC now. So if they did go back on it, and it would have to also, you know, we don't know anything about this. It's pure speculation at this point.
Donnie and Taylor actually said something along the lines that they've already created 2 new characters for it.
Yeah, but those 2 new characters are Ultimate Donnie Cates and Ultimate Tom Taylor. Like, I think that's part of the running joke.
They disappoint me once again. Damn you, Taylor. Damn you.
Well, they could be doing a Bendis where Bendis kept putting him in the comics.
Well, we also all know that Jason Aaron is basically already Ultimate Thor. So there's that.
I mean, yeah. So
I love Ultimate Thor.
I did not appreciate Ultimate Thor at all when I read the Ultimates. That's such a great series, but I did not enjoy.
Ultimate Thor is totally a douche in the first few, but he gets better.
Yes.
Maybe.
In Volume 2, he takes down an entire Chitauri fleet. It's insane. It's so good.
Hey, I have a question since we're talking about that right now. Is this the first book, especially you comic historians, Cody and JJ? Is this the first book, or was the Ultimates the first book that actually talked that heavily about domestic violence? No. I was kind of iffy, but I mean, like, where they actually showed, like, that type of violence. Like, for me, it seemed mind-breaking. JJ, do you know?
Right offhand, I can't think of anything specifically, but there were things like Harry Osborn was pretty abusive to Liz Allen when he was Green Goblin, stuff like that, classically. Even, you know, going arguably Reed Richards and and Sue at times got a little catty.
Yeah. No, my mind was actually blown like when I saw that because I think this is my first experience. I mean, like, granted, like I'm not new to comics whatsoever, but in my genre where it was based off of, X-Men and Wildcats Gen 13, that wasn't a topic that was really. I mean, you would hear about it or you would see it, but Ultimates kind of was like the first one that was like boom, like right in your face. I was like, oh, did this just happen?
That was probably one of the more brutally graphic instances of domestic violence. Like the Harry Osborn stuff. They didn't show him like socking Liz in the face.
Yeah, and it was also published under the Comics Code.
Yeah.
They had to water it down and kind of allude to it and hint around at it too.
Conan did once throw a girlfriend into a river of shit for turning him into the city guard.
That's Conan, though. Conan does what he goddamn well pleases.
She cheated on him and then turned him into the guards, and so
that's
threw her in a river of shit.
Not that that's an excuse, but it's just that's what I would expect from Conan, I guess. No, but I mean, I give the writers kudos to the Ultimates, like, for bringing that up, which is a very real serious thing. So kudos for actually bringing that up. Like, comics always tend to be able to bring forth real life situations to bring it to how to deal with it, et cetera, et cetera. And I see that we've lost Cody for the moment. Nope, he's back.
I'm back. I've got a sick little one here, so I might be in and out a little bit, but shouldn't be too bad. So are we ready to fire off the spotlights?
Yes.
Does everybody look for it? Hey, let's do it. Why not? So we decided to spotlight 3 books this week, which is parts we might go a little bit over. We might not. Let's see what happens. So we chose from DC, Man and Superman #1, the 100. Old Man Quill #1 from Marvel, and Girl in the Bay #1 from Dark Horse. I would like to start with Man and Superman #1. Any objections? Man, y'all are so much better with your mute button. You're so much better with your mute buttons this week. It's almost too good. Superman #1. It was a 100-page giant from Marv Wolfman and Claudio Castellini. This was a book that was finished 10 years ago, as Marv explains in the intro, or in the foreword. It was written 10 years ago as a 4-parter for Superman Confidential. Superman Confidential got the axe. None of the Confidential books did very well, even though they were all really pretty good. And then, through a series of events, the reboots, changes in continuity, they just never found a place to comfortably release this 4-part story until now. So this is a pre-Superman Clark Kent, just newly arrived in Metropolis, looking for work, looking for a place to stay, looking for friends, and really like experiencing a lot of doubt as to whether or not he can make the transition from farm boy to world's greatest superhero. And I thought that, for me, catapulted itself into the conversation of all-time great comics. For sure, all-time great Superman comics, but maybe even the broader discussion. Like, it's not the best comic I've ever read, but it deserves to be talked about in the same breath as some of those other books. Like, this to me was remarkable. And I know that the majority of you read it and also had some high praise for it. So I'm sure Marv will listen to this one of these days and be like, hey, these guys love my book. So anybody else want to talk on Man and Superman?
Yeah. So I'll go first. As all of you guys know, I absolutely love Superman. He's become one of my all-time favorite heroes. Not only heroes, but I love Clark Kent. Just everything. So I kind of took some notes on, as I said, I love that this was the perfect story for him right before he decides to take up the name Superman. Also loved him. His first name apparently was called Flying Man. I also loved his little mask that he had to wear to hide his identity. That was actually just plain funny. I didn't actually know. I made a comment earlier in the chat with JJ about the art, but since I know that it was from 10 years ago, it makes complete sense. So now that everything that I was going to say about the art, which I like, by the way, it didn't seem modern, I guess, was the weird thing that I was going to say. So the story focuses on something that we've all felt at one point. He had self-doubts. He even called himself Moron Man. I also enjoyed that he first moved to Metropolis, great views, safe neighborhood. And then when he gets there, it was none of that shit. It was like the worst of the worst. And it kind of made me laugh because, I mean, we all hear about those type of stories when you purchase something online and you get there and it's completely something different than what it's been advertised. I enjoyed that part a lot. I also love the conversations that he had with his parents. Not that when he was talking to his parents, but when he was self-talking about it, what he would say. As you all know, or may not know, I don't like Lois Lane, and this story really, really made me feel like I still don't like her. I don't know what it is. It's just something that I don't like about her, but that's neither here nor there. I thought it was a great story. And the reason that I bring that up is because even in continuity of today's books, I don't like her, and before I didn't like her. So that they were able to hold into that character and ensure that I don't like her. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great book. It was a great Man and Superman book. That's all I have.
Hey, Arby, just quick question. I'm just curious. What is it about Lois Lane you don't like?
I don't know. Like, well, I do, but I don't want. There's some certain things that I know that I don't like. Okay, like for one, me and JJ have talked about it in chat, and I just feel like she's a hero fucker, like not a gold digger, but but like I don't know how to explain it. Like she wasn't interested in Superman before he became Superman type of thing, or wasn't interested in Clark. It's just, I don't know. I'm sure it's fine. I'm kind of talking out of my ass right now. There's just something about her I don't like, and I think that's the first thing that I see. And since I can't pinpoint it, I'm just grabbing towards that. But she just doesn't jet for me.
I don't necessarily like her a lot of the time either. I think she's kind of a pushy type A personality that is the kind of person who, if I knew them in person, I probably wouldn't get along with them. And she strung Superman along for 70 goddamn years.
Well, I mean, and I don't
like
mind
50, but
yeah, and I don't mind the A-type personality because, I mean, I guess I kind of consider myself having an A-type personality, but I don't know. It's just, there's just something that I don't like about her.
Yeah, she's got kind of almost like a neediness or a hunger that bothers me too, which is actually a pretty defining part of her character, but also something that annoys me. And her competitiveness also.
Which,
but,
I regret signing on to this with JJ right now. I so regret this. I take everything I said back. I love Lois Lane.
Well, I guess I'll go next since I'm unmuted. I liked the book a whole lot. I thought it was a great deconstruction of what makes Superman Superman, even when he's not Superman. Even when he wasn't in costume, and since he's in costume, like responsible, he was still doing the right thing. Like he's still and I loved the moment where he was thinking about stopping the fire, and then he's like, "Fireman got that. I'd just be in the way." Like that's that's doing the right thing in its own way too. Yeah, just sometimes you gotta stand out of the way and let the professionals do what they're doing. And I did the scene where they were investigating the fire, and he found the thing that caused the arson, and was like, "Here's your thing, catch," and then flew away. And they're like, "Did he just what?" That was funny. I did think it was a little bit like telegraphed kind of early on that it was gonna, like, Lex Luthor was doing the stuff. Like, it was very obviously Lex Luthor doing the stuff from the first time he appeared. Like, oh no, my press conference is beset by rockets. Unleash the anti-rocket gun that I brought with me. Like, like, either he's very, very well prepared and he sets that up at every public speaking, or that was set up. And it was kind of like a comical, like, I like to joke about or I laugh about, if you read Going Sane, which is a classic Batman, there's a point where Batman sees Joe Care, and it's like 8 panels of him deconstructing the name to make it say Joker. And I'm like, it took him like that long? Like, it's Joe Care. You just say it phonetically and it's Joker. Like, and likewise, like Lex Luthor, like Superman had to do all this detective work, and I know he needed evidence, but he wasn't even convinced himself until he found the warehouse with the rockets in it that had the gun, which was by remote control that he had on him. And it's another one of those things where it's like just an unnecessary amount of detective work to confirm something you already know. Or that should have been obvious from the start. And, but I thought the characters, all in all, were pretty pitch perfect. And I did really love the fact that, like, he kind of got duped by the landlord, beautiful view, safe neighborhood. Like, who hasn't had that apartment? But I was a little disappointed we didn't get a super flick. Because that, in the Man of Steel, when he gets mugged on his first day in Metropolis, and the lady steps up to him and he flicks her, knocks her out. It's one of my favorite scenes. All right, someone else go.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. So one of the things that you mentioned, JJ, about the characters playing to specific tropes and expectations, I kind of feel at this point, these characters have been around for over 80 years now in one form or another, and they're very heavily mythologized. And they have a certain expectation and parameters within which they're going to act. We can generally expect Lex Luthor to be a douchebag. Lois Lane's going to be aggressive and assertive, and so on and so forth. So that didn't bother me so much because it's to be expected. What really surprised me and caught me off guard was Marv Wolfman's ability as a writer to morph into or change his style to fit more modern ways of writing, which he kind of talks about in the intro, because he's the Bronze Age guy, arguably one of the probably 3 big Bronze Age writers, period. And it shows. You go back and read his classic works, and they're very heavy and laden with dialogue and exposition, and big clunky boxes talking about how the dark is night or something, and it takes forever to read through. But he really made a transition very well into more modern styles of writing. So I got to really hand it to him for that. I was a little thrown off by the art just because I kept looking at it and I was, God, I know I recognize this artist from somewhere, but I couldn't for the life of me remember where. And then suddenly it dawned on me, this is the guy that drew half of Marvel versus DC from '96. And I haven't seen anything else that this dude has drawn. I think he primarily just does European work, as far as I know anyway. But yeah, it was great to see Claudio on board. I wish we'd gotten to see it, was it like 13 years ago or something when they started work on it? But this was, on the one hand, nothing that we haven't seen before in a Superman origin story. It checks all the boxes off, but that's fine because it zeroes in on a real specific time frame of his evolution and humanizes it. What would it be like to be a farm boy going to New York City or wherever, Chicago, and trying to fit in, let alone having all these powers and knowing that you should be doing good with them. Marv did a great job with that. So to me, this was my personal book of the week. And if you told me on the front side, yeah, this Marv Wolfman comic who's not one of my favorite writers, but is gonna be book of the week, I never would have believed you. So I appreciate you guys for nominating it for us to talk about, because I guarantee you I never would have looked at it otherwise.
I actually have... Sorry, go ahead. Derbs, do you mind if I cut you off real quick?
Do it.
I have an answer for you why I don't like Lois Lane. And I think it's that I don't like the pairing of Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Because anytime that she's ever been alone, I've actually really, really enjoyed her. Like, I remember a certain scene or certain books with the death of Superman, when she was alone and she was, investigating stuff. I loved her then. But for something, it's just that when those two are together, it throws me off and I don't like it. I don't know why. I'll have to definitely investigate that a lot more, because as a person or as a solo character, I think she's great. But it is something that when you guys are talking about it, it clicked, and I was like, oh, I think it's more of the pairing that I don't like rather than her as a character that I don't like. Go ahead, Derb. Sorry.
No, that's great. I've actually felt the same way about the relationship. I just never. I like Lois Lane as a character, but I've always felt like she's too mean for Clark. Like, I get she's sexy time and he likes her and she's strong and all that, but she's kind of a mean. She's got a good mean streak in her, and she needs one. That doesn't gel with who I think Clark is, very much. But again, I'm not the best person to talk to you about, Superman and Clark and all of this. This is the first Superman comic I've read since Death of Superman came out. So, yeah, look at those faces. Look at those faces. I know. But I've read a lot of comics since then, and this comic wasn't boring. I felt like it was really a love letter, kind of just to Superman in general, and the art didn't bother me. I felt like it fit right into just what that love letter was supposed to be about. It was both archaic and not at the same time. It was pretty obvious they were setting it in, I don't know, maybe the late 90s, when email was a thing, but smartphones weren't. And I just thought those were some really smart moves. I didn't feel like it was too much detective work. When we read comics, we've been reading comics forever, and we're tracking all these plots, and Clark hasn't been. And I think he's smart, but, he's smart enough. He figured it out. I don't think he even really knew that Lex was, this is his first introduction to like Lex in general as being a danger. So I don't know. He's ambushed, and he learns from it, that kind of thing. But all right. Somebody said Bethany's gonna get me. Why is Bethany gonna get me? Is that you, Cody?
No, sorry. We're talking about a review. Sorry. Had nothing to do with here. It just came up in another chat.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't want Bethany to get me. I like Bethany, and she's really smart, and if she gets me, I'll be got.
No. Had nothing to do with anything you're saying. You said everything perfect.
So yeah, I found it really enjoyable. There were a couple points where I was tearing up a little bit, just the sentimentality of it, and I really love Clark as a character. When he gets that guy his $100 back from the whatever the hell that game was, yeah, I was like, dude, that's totally something Clark would do. It's amazing. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that, for the most part, we all really enjoyed that book. Like I said, it came out of left field. It wasn't really super hyped by DC. I mean, obviously, so it was completed, pencils, inks, everything, in 2009. And it's just been sitting there waiting to come out. So they didn't really hype it. They didn't really put out any press on it. Just kind of quietly let it out into the world, and a lot of people probably will miss it. We're here to tell you, don't. Like, it's worth your time. It's worth, whatever the cover price was. I don't remember. It was a little bit high because it's a 100-pager, but I mean, it was. I thought it was just an absolutely excellent book. It really does touch on that humanity that is so central to what makes us love Superman. As Brian wrote about in his little Superman commentary, and I'd like to see a Lois Lane commentary from you, sir. Why I hate Lois Lane, or why I hate Lois and Clark, or whatever. Like, I think that'd be really fun. I really enjoy the Lois and Clark dynamic, but you do you. Like, everybody has their own subjective tastes, so.
Okay, I'll do it.
Awesome. I look forward to it. I'll make Nick edit it. So if there's nothing else to say on Man and Superman, why don't we move on to Old Man Quill? Old Man Quill #1 from Marvel came out. This is the next chapter in the Old Man sequence. Started with Old Man Logan and Wolverine by Mark Miller and an artist, brain fart. Moved on to Old Man Hawkeye, and now we have Old Man Quill. Thank you.
McKnight.
Thank you. So Old Man Quill #1, written by Ethan Sachs, art by Robert Gill. This was a fun book. I didn't find it exceptional. You've got Quill in the future. He's taken over the role of his father's royalty emperor role. And then things go sideways. His family gets wiped out. And now Quill is reunited with the Abnett Lanning Guardians of the Galaxy crew, only old, and has to find some kind of instrument on Earth to do something, to take down the Universal Church of Truth. I mean, it's a popcorn book. It's not badly drawn, but it's not striking. It's not poorly written, but it's not exciting. It's just kind of another iteration of something that seems like it will probably play out in a pretty predictable way, but also has just this sky of potential. Like, they could do a lot of really cool cosmic things once they get done with their jaunt to the wastelands and, find whatever mechanism they're looking for, whether that's an infinity gauntlet or a cosmic cube or an ultimate nullifier or, I don't know, the Shroud of Turin. Like, I don't know what they're looking for, but it's something, and they're going to find it, and they're going to do something with it, and 12 issues later, it'll end. That's kind of my take on Old Man Quill.
Step 3, profit.
This is going to be 12 issues?
Yes. So, are you done, Cody? I'm sorry. So I liked it. I reviewed it for the site. I thought it was. I'm also reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy, so it seemed kind of a natural thing. I'm reading Abnett and Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy right now, so maybe it's just because I'm kind of in that mode. But I liked the book a lot. I will say one thing that I found really interesting was that if you go off the original Old Man Logan, the villains played against one of Logan's strengths, or one of his defining characteristics, in that he has a tendency to go berserk and kill a whole bunch of people, and you turned it against him. And in this, they turned Star-Lord's cavalier attitude towards tactics against him in order to kill his entire planet, including his family. So it is kind of an interesting, similar dynamic to the original Old Man Logan in that regard. And I didn't read Old Man Hawkeye, but maybe they cashed in on his dependency on sight. But all in all, I found it to be a fairly standard book. I liked the encounter with the Brood. That was pretty fun. And I liked the line of, what are the Brood doing in a solar system with Avengers and X-Men in it? And I'm like, man, nobody tells Gamora anything. They're all dead. I do wish that they had waited a little longer to get in, or to drop them in the wasteland, and maybe done a little more cosmic stuff, which I'm sure that will come. But at the same time, I also appreciate that they took the time to kind of reassure us that it takes place within the Old Man universe. Like, they took the time to establish that it's in the shared universe that we know. But also, if it ends up being that they're there for a cosmic cube or an infinity gauntlet, and it's going to be a Star-Lord has to choose between resurrecting his planet or saving the universe, it's going to happen, and I'm gonna be so mad. But all in all,
I hope they twist it and he actually chooses his family.
that would be so funny. That would be some old man shit, though, wouldn't it?
Right? Especially Quill too. Like,
Yeah.
that seems super Quillish.
Yeah. But I liked Rocket, griping about his back. Like, all this murder is murder on my back. Like, that's relatable. That's what that is. But and you'll notice that several members of the Abnett Landing Guardians are missing, and I'm sure it's going to be like Adam Warlock is heading the Universal Church of Truth or something like that. Old Man Universe. Mantis is security chief at Nowhere after killing Cosmo the space dog for some reason. Poor Cosmo. But it's gonna go down a predictable path, and it's just a matter of whether you're gonna enjoy that predictable path or not, which you should be able to tell just from reading probably this first issue. I think I'm gonna have a good enough time with it. It's not, as I say with a lot of books, it's not The Godfather, and it's never gonna be The Godfather. Like, it's gonna be an entertaining book, and did it entertain me? Yeah, it entertained me enough. Like, I thought the art was fine. I didn't think anything was spectacular about the art, but I definitely thought the art kind of emulated the Abnett and Lanning run, and it doesn't have the more cartoony style that the newer stuff has, and I appreciated that as well. But I think it was a fun enough book. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, so I will say that I had really high expectations of the book, but I was kind of let down. But it does appear to be a good story. I like seeing well, not all of them, but the Guardians of the Galaxy back together to save the universe once more, yada, yada, yada. But I think the book would be great if it didn't have the Old Man Quill attached to it. I'm biased because I loved Old Man Logan. I loved Old Man Hawkeye. The art was great, but it didn't feel like the other Old Man style. So for me, that was just it doesn't seem as dark. So there's things that I expected from the Old Man stuff that just didn't deliver. However, it's not a bad book. Like, there's nothing wrong with this art. There's nothing wrong with this story. But will I continue reading? Honestly, probably not. That's all I got.
Okay, well, Derbs, I was waiting on you to jump in because I feel like you always go last. But I guess I'll take it. I didn't hate the book. I didn't love the book. It plays into a lot of the familiar framework that we've seen in the other Old Man books. And more recently, Old Man Hawkeye, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But I did like, and JJ, you did a good job of summing this up. The idea of taking Peter Quill's cavalier attitude and turning it against him was actually a pretty good plot point. And I didn't really even think about it in those terms until you said it just now. So one thing I do think is interesting, though, is getting an outsider's perspective on the Old Man Logan universe, or the Wastelands, whatever we're referring to it as, So presumably since he's been all kingly for 50 years or however long, it's been at least that long since Peter Quill was on Earth. So we're now going to get his perspective on everything that's gone down. It will probably lead to some familiar story beats, but at the same time, that's fresh eyes is always a good thing. The art, not bad at all. It got the job done. I liked it better than the art on Old Man Hawkeye, but nobody's ever going to be Steve McNiven. So at least in terms of the Old Man Logan universe. Will I read more? Personally, I might wait for the trade, but you never know. Derbs?
Yeah, waiting for the trade is probably a good idea with this one. I think if I was writing a review for this book, I would definitely say if you're into Cosmic Marvel and you have them in your hold at your LCS, you've got Guardians and whatnot. This would be one I'd want. It's entertaining enough, and if I was into that side of things, I'd be like, yeah, this is cool. I'm down with this. Otherwise, no.
Yes, I mean it kind of sounds universal amongst the five of us that this isn't a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. It's just it lacks that wow factor, and that's fine. Like not every book has to completely blow you away for you to enjoy it and want to read more of it or want to read it later on or whatever. So I mean, Old Man Quill, we're not saying no.
I did want to also add, a Hawkeye or Logan cameo is inevitable. And that's with them in the wasteland. We're going to see some familiar faces. And
yeah,
that actually kind of annoys me. I'd much prefer...
Let's see how it plays out. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
So our last book for the week comes from Dark Horse, who we don't really cover very often, but here's some Dark Horse love. Girl in the Bay #1. This is a book from J.M. I've never really known how to say his name. I apologize. DeMatteis, I would say, but I'm not positive on that. And art by Corin Howell. Now, Girl in the Bay is set up to be a story of 1969, young girl out in the summer of love before, and very notable that they make reference to it's before the Manson murders, it's before Altamont. Summer of love, she's out, she's doing acid, she's having fun with her friends, meets a guy, the guy stabs her and throws her in the bay. Dead. Walks up out of the bay, goes home. It's 2019. So this whole thing is kind of set around this nice comparison between 1969 and 2019. That seems to be kind of the central notion here. And what the difference is between us now versus us during the summer of love. And by us, I mean, capital U, capital S, us. I really enjoyed this book. I thought the art was beautiful. I think that it's an interesting premise. It reminds me a little bit of that show Forever that ran on, I think, NBC for a while, where they kill Ian Gruffold every week. He wakes up in the Hudson Bay, I think, and he's immortal, and he's working as a coroner now. Blah blah blah. There's a whole big mystery around why he is reincarnating. So there was a little bit of hint of that, which was a really enjoyable show. A fun premise. You've got a mystery. How did she survive? And also, by the way, when she finally tracks down her family in 2019, she meets herself 50 years older, as if she had never died. So, I mean, there's a twist. It's a not totally unique setup, but it's set up so temporally specific that it has a uniqueness there. I enjoyed this book more than any Dark Horse book besides Fight Club that I've read in a very long time. Oh, we have a Tom Taylor update. Who's got it?
Yeah, so I do. So he just posted a picture of, wait, let me see if I can do it. Maybe actually what we'll do is I'll send Derbs when you edit it. You can send it to us, or you can cover our faces because I'm not going to be able to get it. It's a Superman screaming while he's flying over the city as what looks like something coming down, like maybe asteroids or something, maybe bombs, I don't know, coming from the sky. Looks really cool. And it says, "Screaming, the world is screaming."
I'm in my car, so I can do this. Just fucking tell us, Tom Taylor! God damn it!
It's true, you can do that, but you shouldn't ever do that. Again. So I'm sorry, Cody, I didn't mean to interrupt your segment, but he just tweeted something and I saw it and I was like, oh.
No, absolutely no problem at all. I'm looking at this image, and I mean, it's gorgeous. It's by Trevor Hairsine.
And this is just
yes.
for like us, because by the time this gets published, everyone's gonna know. So this is just for
Right.
us.
Right. I mean, we've all been tracking this for the last like almost 48 hours, very, very tightly. So I mean, it's exciting. Like I'm excited. I've seen a couple of really interesting theories out there. Twilight of the Superheroes being one of those theories. The Lost Alan Moore book.
Holy crap! I did hear a rumor that was being developed by someone like a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that could be.
Yeah, it's a really solid theory, and I mean, how exciting! You know how. And if anybody,
Cody, do you want to speak to what that long lost Alan Moore project is?
No, I don't.
Oh, why? It's Alan Moore.
Well, I haven't looked. I haven't read anything about it in a long time. Like I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of stuff wrong there.
I skimmed what was allegedly a portion of a plot of it,
right?
Maybe a year ago. It was just like a post superhero world after superheroes all died or something, or were dying. It's gonna be insane if that's it. I'm willing to wait if that's what it is.
Now, but it was also developed when Alan Moore was at his creative peak, so that can't be ignored.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this was right around, like, I want to say a year or so after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Alan Moore developed it as a prose novel. And it was supposed to be kind of like, if it were to make the next step into comic form, it would have been like a 12-issue maxi series. It would have been almost a Crisis 2. But it never got picked up. There was some copyright issues with it, you know, and Moore has always wanted to retain creator rights, and DC was not willing to give him creator rights on this one. Like there's a lot of legal mess around it, but it ended up with DC and just never went anywhere. So I mean, this is possibly a lost masterwork, and if there's anybody in the industry right now that could handle that, I feel like Tom Taylor has the chops to be able to pick up something Alan Moore developed. Similar to how I got to run. Hang on, guys.
Okay.
So yeah, Alan Moore. Okay, cool. Tom Taylor.
So
if anybody can follow Tom at Alan Moore, I'll give it to Tom Taylor. Back to Girl in the Bay. B, it sounded like you wanted to go next.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go next, and I feel like I'm the negative Nelly today because. Well, no, I loved Superman, and Old Man Quill was fine too. But Girl in the Bay, I would be happy or devastated if I came back 40 years in the future or so. I mean, there's probably a lot of people I wouldn't miss. Okay, so I went thinking I wasn't going to like it. I was borderlining knowing when I read it that I wasn't going to enjoy it. Maybe I was setting myself up. But it ended up being an interesting book. I may actually read the next couple of them just because I kind of want to see what happens. I like the story. I like the idea behind it. I like the art in it. But when it comes to the art, I didn't feel like it matched the tone of the book. Maybe I'm misreading what the book should be or was meant to be. I pictured it more of a horror type of book, and it just was, I didn't get the horror vibes from the art. But the art is good. I'm not taking anything away from it. I will read the next couple of books, but for me, it just, the two didn't match one another.
Well, so I'll go next because I know Matt has something to say about what I was saying. At least he said he did. But there was just something about this book that made me feel like I should be liking it more than I actually did. The art wasn't my thing. I'm not going to say it was bad, but it wasn't quite my thing. I kind of sometimes look at indie books as these projects. It's like, wow, they're getting this shot. They're doing this thing. Here we go. It's time. And sometimes when the art's not quite up to par with it, it just kind of makes me a little sad. I thought it just could use some more contrast work. It just felt really colorful and not quite as atmospheric as I thought something like this, this subject matter, this setting deserves. But I will say that the death on was it a bridge or just a pier? That was nasty. Like they did a really good job with that. Kind of brought me back to watching Zodiac, the movie, the stabbing on the picnic. That was extremely difficult to watch. It brought me back to that moment. So good job for them doing that. I actually liked everything going on in that book up until that point. And then the water and the mermaid witch and stuff. And here we are.
Okay. So to pick up on what you were saying about, you felt like you should have dug this book more than it did. To me, it had to go down to the main character, Kathy. She's just not particularly likable. Like, that's my thing. I think it's a great and very intriguing setup. I love the contrast between 1969 and 2019.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. That's exactly what it
Kathy is just sort of this vacuous, not very interesting, self-centered person. And I can't really feel very attached to her necessarily. But that's my biggest complaint. Working backwards, the art, it's okay. It gets the job done. It does have a kind of, I hate to say amateurish because that sounds a little meaner than I mean it to, but it is kind of unpolished. And, smaller company like Dark Horse, that's going to happen. I can't knock it too much for that. J.M. DeMatteis, to compare him to Marv Wolfman's successful transition into more modern storytelling techniques, did not make the transition as well. His dialogue sounds to me a lot like your kind of stereotypical older writer trying desperately to write that younger voice and just not quite doing it. It is what it is. J.M. DeMatteis is one of the, most storied writers in the industry. So I'm not going to beat the guy up for not having an ear to youthful dialogue, when he's in his 60s now. I think he's in his 60s. So intrigue. Yeah, it was an intriguing setup. Good, interesting book. I haven't really been following any of the other Berger books if they're at Dark Horse, but so I really can't compare it to any of those. I know it was very highly touted when the line started, and other I can't really think of very many books that came from it. So if this is sort of my entry point into that little niche. It's interesting, and I'm glad it's only 4 issues. I can't possibly see this being stretched out for too much more than that. At least not without stronger characterization.
Yeah,
So-
no, that makes. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
JJ.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, go.
Oh,
No, I thought
was
you
just-
were gone. Your video's off.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hang on. Now? Better?
I don't know. Anybody else? My video
Cody,
is stuck from us. Yes.
Cody, I think it's just yours because I see him.
He's been on my screen the whole time, and I've been hosting, so we're good.
I turned it off for a second because I was looking at the Tom Taylor picture. Sorry. Um, okay, so all in all, I thought the book was okay, but I was not blown away. I agree that I didn't find the character particularly likable, and honestly, like it was part of it is what Derb said, where she was kind of self-centered, like and there wasn't any contrast with like there could be like if you went 50 years in the future and you know a guy was sitting next to you with like a hologram in the palm of his hand and looking at it, you'd be like, what the fuck is that? And there isn't that. She's sitting on the train at one point and the guy next to her is dicking around on his tablet like, you know, everybody does everywhere they go. And she doesn't even glance at him. She's just sitting there curled up. And I understand she's probably in a state of shock. But if anything's gonna bounce you out of a state of shock, it's seeing some crazy future wizard machine in someone's hand, and they're talking to people thousands of miles away on a picture screen.
And she does sort of. She says like there's like one statement of dialogue from her where she's like, "It's a weird new future," and I'm blown away by it. But that's it. Like it's done.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was much like it was like I'm in 2019. And now I'm in 2019. Like, there's no surprise. There's no like, oh my God, the world is different. And I understand that the world we live in is the world we live in. We don't need to be told that it's the world we live in. But seeing someone from 50 years ago seeing a tablet for the first time should be interesting. Seeing them see, you know, a Bluetooth speaker should be interesting. A laptop. A computer, a modern stoplight with LED lights. It's like there's so many things that weren't there, you know, and even like 20 years ago, you know, there should be so much more wonder and intrigue to that. And I don't feel it at all. And even like when she was murdered, it was a thing. But it was just a thing that was happening, and I didn't really feel anything for it. You know, you knew something was going to happen because it showed her drowning like 3 pages earlier. So, like, there was no surprise to it. I did think the art in the acid trip was fairly well done, if a little ill-defined. Everybody kind of just turns into a blur. She's like, I can't see straight. I'm going outside. And then that's the acid trip, basically. And there's like 2 more panels later on. But there's like pages where she's walking along normally, just talking to the guy when she's apparently tripping on acid too hard to talk to anybody. But she's holding a fully lucid conversation with this guy. And then he stabs her. You know, it could happen to anybody, I guess. Also,
yeah, it moves fast. It moves really fast, and I know they're trying to get to a point, and some of these things, the direction doesn't. They just decide that we don't want to dwell here. We need to just kind of keep things moving, you know. And I get that the book can only be so long, but I don't know. There were just it just felt a little deaf in those areas for me too.
Yeah. And also, did they confirm at the end that the woman she ran into was her? Because her sister did mention at one point something to the effect of, I had a sister and she disappeared. She was 18 years old and disappeared one night and we never saw her to this day.
Yeah, that was the other sister. The sister that she ran into was her.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. I didn't catch that.
I mean, I'm not saying that this thing is a masterpiece.
No.
But for 4 issues, like, it has a lot of potential to do some really cool things, and that's what I'm kind of mostly excited about. I enjoyed it. I just did. I just enjoyed it. I don't really read a whole lot of indies. I don't have time to read a whole lot of indies. Went out of my way because Trey actually read it and recommended it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like, it exceeded all of my expectations.
One other thing I wanted to say, going with what what Matt and I said, maybe we're just not really supposed to like her yet. I mean, I don't think it's necessary for me to like her. The point is that maybe she wasn't likable and then she died, and that's when her story starts.
Best thing that ever happened to her.
I was
Just like
waiting for
Lou
you to
Reed.
do. I was waiting for you to do something like that, John.
Well, I think that's actually a really good point. And it also should be noted that DeMatteis is always at his strongest when he's writing from a psychological perspective. His Spectacular Spider-Man run, of course, Craven's Last Hunt. To me, that is true J.M. DeMatteis. I mean, I know, all due respect and love for his work with Keith Giffen, but he's a guy that gets inside his characters' heads and just peels onion layer after onion layer apart. So maybe that he's going to get a chance to do that somewhat in the next 3 issues. I kind of hope so.
Yeah, and I mean, at its heart, the story is a mystery. You know, I assume between trying to figure out what happened and, you know, who killed her. But unless it devolves in some kind of, you know, a god brought her back and stuff thing, which it might. But, you know, I'm always down for a good mystery. So I'll read issue 2 and see where it goes. You know, if it's a mystery like it seems to be, I love a good mystery as long as it's done well. Looking at you, Tom King. Our, our mandatory Tom King call out per show. I am under contract.
Shut up, JJ. Just shut the fuck up.
I do what I want.
So on that note, Girl in the Bay #1 from Dark Horse. It's in stores now. You can check it out if you want to. Don't if you don't. So what did everybody read this week, and what are you excited for?
I'll go first on this one. I actually really liked this Batman book. I know so many people hated it and didn't have a voice, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty decent. I also really, really like Champions. Nobody's reading it. Like, that is so shocking. So, and nobody's talking about it either. Well, I guess if nobody's reading it, nobody's talking about it. But a lot was going on with Champions. Like, 2 major characters died. And that's why Spider-Man is kind of in a funk, so to speak, but then they find a way to bring him back. But it's not that they're back, it's just you guys
Spidey's in a funk? That doesn't sound right.
No, like, so it's a really good book. Like, I'm just gonna kind of spoil it. So they're in this major fight. Spider-Man and Hawkling, I think is his name. Jimmy. I'm thinking of Jimmy Cho, which is a shoe. Whatever. So
Totally Awesome Hulk.
yeah, that one.
Amadeus Cho.
They save this girl, and in the meantime, while they're saving this girl, Miss Marvel and Vision's daughter dies, but a devil type thing comes back and says, okay, you can either save them or the girl, more or less, and they choose to save Miss Marvel. So now those 2 are kind of destroyed. It's such a good book. You guys need to be reading it. What I'm looking forward to is, well, shit, I forgot to write that part down. I'm looking forward to books this week. Yeah.
I'll go next. I caught up with Gideon Falls, and looking forward to Gideon Falls 11. Ready for that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so
and then Winter Soldier #3 on Wednesday. So those are my 2 big books.
I'll go next. This week I read maybe 20 issues of 52 because, you know, I was on a short 52 binge. I didn't quite get to 52. I'm on week 39. But also some Abnett and Lanning Guardians of the Galaxy. I finished Aquaman finally. And some stuff off my to read pile. Finally read American Vampire, which Cody gave me. It was fine. was pretty good. And for books this week that I'm looking forward to, Superman #8 was. I haven't been the biggest booster of Bendis' Superman, but Superman #8 is a book to watch. I'm not going to say anything about it because I can't. Cody will kill me, but it was good. And Jerry Dugan's Savage Sword of Conan #1 is this Wednesday, so I'm very, very excited for that. And I don't think any of the others are excited for that. So that's what I got to say about that.
I'm neither a Jerry Duggan nor much of a Conan fan, so no, not me.
He just wrote Dead Rabbit from Image. He only got to 2 issues before they got sued into oblivion, but it was really good. And he also wrote one other thing that I really liked recently that I can't think of, which made me excited for this Conan. Oh, the Doctor Strange Best Defense issue he wrote.
Oh, that's right. That was really good. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So I'm on board for those because of those 2 things.
He's a good writer. I just don't think he's economic enough with the storytelling because he'll put like 3 panels on a page and maybe 2 dialogue balloons, and then you read a Jerry Duggan comic in about 2 minutes. That's my, whatever. I could probably say that about a lot of writers. He is a good writer. Okay, so what did I read? I actually meant to bring this up last week, but then I got off on a lengthy tangent about Jonathan Hickman and Fantastic Four. But Dynamite's Peter Cannon Thunderbolt #1 that shipped a couple weeks ago was really cool. He is basically, he's the inspiration for Ozymandias from Watchmen. And essentially he's a superhero that basically just says, society sucks. Why should I get involved and save the day? Because he's the smartest man alive. And he knows things. And Kieran Gillen wrote it, and I haven't historically been the biggest fan of his, but this was really, really good. It just takes a very different approach to superheroing and superheroics in general that I really appreciated. If you want something that's in the superhero vein, but a little different than the norm, I very much recommend it. What I'm looking forward to, and I'm kind of surprised that this hasn't gotten more attention, but Marvel's annotated #1 ships this week. So,
I'm damn excited for that. That's totally,
dude.
yeah.
So for the listening, Marvel's was Alex Ross's big coming out party in '94, and this is the 25th anniversary, and Marvel is re-releasing all 4 issues with annotations from, I think it's him and Busiek, right? And I could not be more excited for this. Marvel's is absolutely one of the best comics ever made, period. Top 5. I'll fight anybody on that. It is a beautifully painted, beautifully written book, and I've been waiting for something with their insights, just DVD bonus features, so to speak, director's commentary for years and years and years, and I'm finally getting it. So if you've never read Marvel's, my God, what's wrong with you? Do it, and then go read Kingdom Come.
You wanna know what's wrong with me? You got the time.
Okay, dude. I'm listening.
Yeah, no, Marvel's was fantastic. I also really enjoyed the sequel, the post-apocalyptic version of it that Warren Ellis wrote, Ruins, that nobody seems to have read besides myself and like maybe 5 other people in the world. But annotated Marvels. I probably won't pick it up. I might borrow it from somebody and read the extra content one of these days. But I've got my first prints from when it was first coming out. With those gorgeous acetate covers, and I don't know. I spent the week, or at least last night, catching up on Justice League Dark finally. I had read the first Witching Hour special, and then I kind of lost the ball on that. Like, was behind on Wonder Woman and wasn't reading. Had only read the first couple issues of Dark and just let it go. So I caught up on that, and that is the reason that I'm excited for Justice League Dark number 8 this week. As JJ said, I won't say anything for it, but it comes out this week. Go buy yourself a copy. This is a sleeper hit, I feel like. I mean, I know it's not selling poorly, but this is a really strong book. And if you have any ties to any kind of magical DC character, they're all here. They're all in this book. Like everybody makes a cameo. Everybody gets their turn to shine. It's been really enjoyable. Like I binged probably 6 or 7 issues last night, and
How
really
good was
dug it.
number 7, the anthology one?
Oh yeah, so great. You
I mean,
Creature
I
Commandos,
Vampire,
I Vampire, yeah,
Lucifer, yeah.
yeah. They did a really good job with that issue. The Bobo funeral for Nightmaster was heart-wrenching. I mean, just there's some really good writing going on. It's James Tinney in the 4th. Yeah, and I can't sing his praises higher. I felt like through all of New 52, like he was always overshadowed by Snyder. And now here in Rebirth, I feel like he's kind of getting to come into his own and be respected as his own kind of guy.
It is
Also
a perfect
coming
thing
out-
to follow his detective run. It's just perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Also coming out this week is Age of X-Man, Gen Next #1. This will be the second miniseries starting. This will be focusing on the younger X kids, written by Tim Seeley. So it's probably going to be pretty good. That's another one that I look forward to reading. And that's about it for me. Any final thoughts?
It's just interesting that you say that Justice League Dark is a sleeper hit. I mean, it was our comicwatch.com's like DC's best book of the year last year. Like, I can't believe that it's not getting that much readership. It's kind of sad.
I mean, the readership is really strong. Like, it's still a top 25 or maybe a top 50 book. It's selling well, but it's not selling, like, it's not outselling, say, Justice League, which is not as good as this. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I mean, it feels like this book should be doing better than it is. Like, more people should be talking about it.
Yeah,
Right,
I feel like it's doing like 40K-ish, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of just feel like we're not talking about it, but the numbers are there. And actually, I haven't read Justice League in a long time, actually since No Justice, so I don't know if it, in comparison, what the books are. I mean, I'm assuming Dark is still better.
If you start Justice League with next issue, you know as much as we do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mountain of convolution.
Yeah, that's when I left it.
Yeah, lots and lots of MacGuffins too.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like we aren't talking about it as much, and I think because me and Cody both not necessarily dropped it, but kind of after that we just hadn't had time to kind of keep up and read it, except he was able to catch up. I haven't yet, but it's still like when I think back, I still think it was one of my favorite books from that. I haven't been able to catch up. I think that the reason it's not necessarily, it is kind of a sleeper, but nobody's talking about it as much as I think we all feel that people should be.
Yeah, I mean, it surprised me. Like, it completely caught me off guard how strong the writing is. Like, you could take that writing out of comic book form and turn it into a novel and have a best-selling novel. Like, it's that good, that well written.
You
All
almost
right.
said that good written.
Good written. It has that good written.
It's got that good written.
I was actually going to go in a different direction and then decided to switch to well written instead of that good a narrative or blah 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 whatever. But
Oh yeah, you could.
I feel like you guys make fun of me for saying narrative way too much.
It's got decent words.
I like it with the reading.
I hate you guys.
I am sitting in my pickup truck.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think it is time to close out the show. Did everybody go? I lost track. I usually keep track.
Everybody went.
I do need to go, so let's go.
Okay. All right, guys. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, The Comic Watchers Show, as well as Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes podcast. You can always check us out on Twitter, CC Watchers Show, also Facebook, The Comic Watch Show, and check out our website, www.comic-watch.com. Out.
Shazam!